The Detroit Lions in the offseason, I feel, made two statements. First was that Jim Schwartz was still their guy for 2013. Maybe not much more than that, but at least for 2013. But that the pressure is on him. The second statement they made is that Matthew Stafford is their guy. They re-signed him to a big contract, gave him a lot of money. Frankly, from the Detroit Lions standpoint, you really didn't have much of a choice. He was the guy that you drafted first overall in 2009 on the heels of that 0-16 season. He's been that guy that you've been building around, and he's the guy that took you to the playoffs in the 2011 season. He's put up some big numbers the past couple of years. You had to do it. You had to make that statement and say Matthew Stafford is our guy. When you look at the Lions, back in 2012, this past season, they were a team that made a lot of stupid mistakes, made some very poor choices, some very poor play calls, some bad decisions, and quite frankly lost some games that they should have won. A very undisciplined team, which I think does reflect in a lot of ways upon the head coach in Jim Schwartz, and that is why he's on the hot seat for 2013. Offensively, this team in the offseason, they decided they were going to make some changes. Their biggest change was they signed Reggie Bush away from the Dolphins to come in and be their starting running back. They've got Riley Reiff now inserted at left tackle since Jeff Backus has retired. Thankfully for the Lions, your offensive line just instantly got better. Titus Young is gone. Ryan Broyles is most likely going to be the number 2 option opposite Calvin Johnson. Well, this is an offense that can move the ball. This is an offense that can score a lot of points, but at times, like I said, does fail to make the big play in the big situation. Does fail to make just the small play in the small situation. Is the offense that at times really lacks an identity other than we just got to throw it to Megatron. Who's going to be the number 2 wide receiver in Detroit? Are they going to have any passing game really other than Calvin Johnson? Are the Detroit Lions going to be able to effectively run the ball? Are they going to be able to effectively protect Matthew Stafford? Because he does still have an injury history in his past. And with a new left tackle and potentially a new offensive guard at some point in time in the year in Larry Warford, their 3rd-round rookie, there are some questions on the offensive side of the football, no question. On the defensive side of the ball, they drafted Ziggy Ansah 5th overall because they let Van de Bosch go, they let Cliff Averill go, so they needed somebody on the edge to generate a pass rush, and they believe Ziggy Ansah is the guy, and I think he could very well be the guy too. Now they also added Darius Slay in the draft to play corner, and they also dropped some money on Glover Quinn, the safety from Houston, and I think that was actually a solid move. Because this defensive unit, when we talk about lacking discipline, this defense really lacked discipline in 2012, and frankly wasn't very good, particularly in the back 7, and really especially lacking explosiveness and playmaking ability in that secondary. And adding guys like Darius Slay and Glover Quinn should help that, along with bringing in somebody like Ziggy Ansah to be a young, explosive pass rusher on the edge to go alongside Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley. Now, speaking of Fairley and Suh, these are 2 guys that they spent 1st-round picks on. They are 2 guys that get a lot of pub, especially Suh. These are 2 guys that need to play discipline. They need to, be good teammates. They need to be more consistent and more productive than they were last year, especially in the case of Suh. Suh has that type of talent to be the very best defensive tackle in all of football. But last year, he played like a bit of a scatterbrain at times, very unfocused at times, very undisciplined at times. And Nick Fairley was here one minute and gone the next. He really was. And the other question I really have is, will this secondary, with the investment that they made in it, with the Quinns and the Darius Slays in the draft, is this secondary going to be better? Is this a secondary that's actually going to be able to stop people? This is going to be a secondary that can actually force some turnovers. That remains to be seen. When you look at the Lions, a couple of early season matchups that I think are very important for them since they finished last in the division last year. They need to win more divisional games. Week 1, they've got Minnesota at home. Week 4, they've got Chicago at home. If they can manage to beat Minnesota in Week 1, it would be a really, really, really good starting point and foundation piece for the 2013 season. If they could go and win Week 4 against Chicago at home, again, it would be another good building block to set you in motion for the rest of the season. I don't necessarily think that will happen. You never know with the Lions. They do have Stafford, they have Calvin Johnson, they have some talent on this team. Are they going to have discipline? Are they going to be focused? Are they going to be consistent? Are they going to eliminate some of the dumb decisions and piss-poor mental mistakes that really crippled them as an organization in 2012? If they could do that, this is a team that has enough talent to potentially, bang their way most of the year for a wild card spot. Ultimately, I do think this will be Jim Schwartz's last year in Detroit, and I think this is a team that at most will probably win 6, maybe 7 football games. They're in a very good division with teams like Green Bay and Chicago and Minnesota. The bottom line is somebody's got to finish in last. I don't think it's any of those other 3 teams at this point. I look at the Detroit Lions and say they're the odd man out in this situation.